What's up, guys? Rob from LegitBrowniesGaming here, bringing you the latest episode of the week Long Winddown. And the videos you're gonna see here, I believe the videos in order go um, the Impossible game, then Toy Soldiers, I think, and then Nazi Zombies. So if I remember correctly, that's what the deal for this week is. It's just a bunch of medley of games that I was playing at the time, and I decided to record it so I could make this new episode. So. The topic for this week is persistence, perseverance, and coming out on top. And this is going to generally refer to a situation that's not, an easily handled one or, something that you actually have to take work to come through. So we'll start with the first part, which is persistence. And say you want something really badly, right? Let's just use something that everyone can relate to, or more or less everyone. Like, say you want a new car. You know, your favorite car company just came out with a new car. You're like, oh my god, it's beautiful. It runs, it has this, crazy horsepower. It has this, V8 engine. It has like, all-wheel drive, like just some crazy whatever. I'm not much of a car person, so I don't know much about cars. But you want that car, right? So what do you have to do to get that car? Well, you have to work. You have to save up the money, and then once you have the money, then you have to. I mean, that's probably the hardest part. That's what's going to take you the longest time is saving up the money to get the car. Because I mean, cars aren't cheap. I mean, let's face it. So that middle part, that saving up the money, that is probably the hardest part of it because you have to work to save up that money, and then even when you work, you're not throwing everything towards the car. I mean, if at that point you're living on your own, you're putting some towards your house. You're putting some towards food. If you have a family, you're putting some towards family. So I mean, it's not like you're just beelining for that car. So, um, it takes work. I mean, obviously, you have to work to get paid. So, that's just, and what you got to do when you want it is you just got to stick with it. Like, you can't give up. Like, if you start working towards that car, and you start putting money away, and you start, maybe working extra hours, getting overtime, like, you can't just stop at some point. You can't just be like, you know what? It's not even worth it. Like, you've got to stick with it because I mean, unless, something else comes up that you want or need, and then in that case, yeah, you can stop because something else came up. But I mean, like, you can't just give up on something because it's too hard at first or you don't get it at first. I mean, you're not going to get everything you want as soon as possible. I mean, the instant you want it, it's not going to happen. I mean, you've got to stick with it because what's the point in giving up? Let's use something that isn't monetary. Um, It's hard to think of an example. Okay, so say you're in school and you're failing a class and you want better grades. And then, so what you do have to, what blah, 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 blah. What you have to do to get better grades is you have to study, do better on the tests, participate in the class more, pay attention. So, say you're starting with a 60, right? And you're working your grade up slowly and you get to a 75, but it took you forever to get to that 75 and it took so much hard work and you're just thinking, you're sitting there thinking, is it even worth it at this point? All this, you know, studying every night and you know, just taking time away from things that I could be doing, which are more fun. I mean, but you've already started it, so you've just. What's the point in dropping it? What's the point? What's the point in dropping it that you drop it and then your grade goes back down to a 60? All that hard work you just did is erased. It's irrelevant. It's almost as if it didn't happen. So my point in this is just like if you're gonna really want something and you're gonna put the time and effort to starting it, you should finish it off. Like any project. I mean, even if you don't necessarily finish it, immediately, but I mean, if you put a lot of hard work and effort into it, then what's the point in not finishing it? So you could start something else and then just not finish that. Like I feel like if you start off not finishing something, it develops into a bad habit that kind of just spirals from there and snowballs, and then it starts with, oh well, I don't want to do this piece of homework, and to, well, oh, I don't want to do any homework, and then, well, I don't want to study for the test because there's no point. My grades already suck. But you can change that. You know, you can change those grades. And I mean, the reason your grades suck in the first place is because you didn't put the effort in. So when it comes to perseverance with things or persistence, just stay with it. You know, if you want to play a sport, stick with that sport. You know, obviously it's going to be a lot of hard work, especially sports, but just stay with it. You know, stick with it. You'll get better. The situation will get better. I'm That's my take on persistence is just you got to stay with it. I mean, there's no real point to just giving up. And I mean, this applies to everything in life. I mean, there's no point in giving up. I mean, you trust me, once you achieve what you want to achieve, the fact that you put all this hard work and all this time and effort into it will just make it that much better. It really will. It'll make it all worth it. Um, it's like with anything in life. I mean, say you want to start a relationship with someone, right? You know, you start talking to them, then you're friends, and then, you know, maybe you ask and then you get rejected. Well, that kind of sucks, but I mean, so what are you going to do? You're just going to say, oh, well, you rejected me. Screw you. I'm never going to talk to you again. No, you work towards developing a better relationship. And I mean, you just got to stick with it. That's just my best advice. Coming out on top is a different story, though. What I mean by coming out on top is, say you're in a bad situation, right? There's a difference between persevering through a bad situation and slogging through a bad situation. So let's go back to the grades thing, right? So you're failing, let's say math or whatever, right? You have a 60, and your goal is to pass math class. Okay, so the difference between persevering in that goal and slogging through that goal is, if you persevere, you not only pass, you get a 90, or you get an 100, or you get an 85, or, you know, something, a good grade that you can be proud of. I mean, that's persevering through a difficult time. Simply slogging through it would mean passing with like a 65 or a 70. And I'm not saying, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, everyone has a subject, everyone has their weakness, but if you really want to really turn yourself around in something, there's a difference between simply just doing it and knocking it out of the ballpark. Going back to, you know, the car thing, right? So if you just slog through work and you just, yeah, I'm doing it because I have to, and then you finally get the car and you're just like, all right, well, I have the car. I kind of just, you know, spent all my money on that, so I just slogged through that situation, and now, you know, I'm having problems because of it. Or you can come out on the other end and just be like, well, I put all this effort into this car. Um, I put a lot of myself towards it, so now I'm going to make the best of it. I mean, that's what you have to do. It's obviously it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, that's a lot of things in life you're going to find that, no, yeah, you know, this random person on the internet can sit here and tell me how to live my life because it's so easy to him. No, it's not. Not necessarily. I'm not some, you know, genius. I'm not some guy that's just like, well, I'm amazing at life, so listen to me. Blah. No, it's that's not what I'm hoping that this series is at all. I'm not hoping that it's me, that you guys are perceiving me as some jackass who just sits here and projects my opinions on people because I have nothing better to do with my life. This is just me giving my take on things, my opinion, and basically trying to provide you with a little thought provocating or thought provoking commentary for the end of the week. But anyway, back to the topic. It goes like that with like people situations too. I mean, say you're having a problem with, like, you know, one of your friends, whatever, like your friend's being an asshole, right? So how do you handle the situation? Well, you got to stick with it. You got to be persistent. You got to keep saying, well, you know, say your friends, you know, talking about you behind your back. You got to keep telling them. You got to be like, don't do that. It's a bad idea. Like, I'm not going to stand for it. And I mean, honestly, if someone's talking behind you but behind your back, and they're supposed to be your friend anyway, they're not your friend. I'm just gonna tell you right now. They really aren't. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've known them or how good of friends you were at one point. If someone has sank to the point where they are talking about you behind your back, and especially if it's detrimental things like they're spreading rumors and stuff, they're not your friend. They don't care. If they really were your friend and they really cared about you, they wouldn't do something like that. So, I mean, say you're having an argument with a friend and it's not about something that they're not being a jerk or whatever, it's just like it's a disagreement, right? Um, Coming out on top of the situation doesn't necessarily, like, it's a weird connotation of that phrase, but I'm not talking about beat your friend down morally, emotionally, or physically. Hopefully, not physically. Um, I'm not advocating assaulting your best friend. Not exactly a good idea, but coming out on top would mean, like, you would sit down and talk about it. And it's another thing I kind of want to talk about it this week, which is, I don't know, it's kind of like a hybrid week, I guess, because I talk about persistence, sticking with it, and coming out on top. And now I'm kind of moving into a topic that I was going to save, but I guess I can go with it now. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna stick with it. Taking my own advice, yes. Um, I'm gonna move into conflict resolution because this seems to be a skill that nobody has anymore, and I don't know why. It seems like people don't know how to deal with situations that involve conflict with other people. It's weird. Um, Most people will tend to resort to, I'm not generalizing here, but I notice a lot of guys will resort to physical violence a lot. You know, oh, you talk crap about me, whatever, oh, blah, 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 blah. And then they just proceed to punch each other in the face, which isn't necessarily the best idea. There are certain situations which you just need to pop someone in the face, but most situations can be resolved by a thing that not a lot of people know how to do anymore, which is just sitting down and talking to someone, right? I mean, with females, I mean, again, this is just generalization. Don't get on my back about this, but I mean, they will physically get into it sometimes, but most of the time it resorts to just not talking to each other, giving each other the silent treatment, or talking about them behind their back, which is, again, a just terrible idea. I don't know why you would think that's a good idea, but the best way to handle a conflict with another person is really just to sit down and talk to them about it. Like, don't and it's best to do this in person. I mean, I know with technology you can do it through text and or you can do it through Facebook, but I mean, if you really want to resolve a situation masterfully and finally, it's best to sit down and talk to people about it because it's like there's no point to resorting to physical. I mean, what is physical violence going to help you, right? Say you have a minor disagreement with someone, like they accidentally bump you in a hallway or something, or well, it's going to be more major than that. Say one of your friends said something that maybe you don't think was all that great, right? I mean, not behind your back, but I'm saying like maybe they said something a little stupid that they probably shouldn't have. Um, with there's no point in beating up your best friend. I mean, I don't think anyone would do that regardless, but that's not going to solve anything. That's going to piss your friend the hell off and probably ruin the friendship. And I'm telling you right now, anyone who does the silent treatment, that is the worst idea in the history of ideas. That gets nothing resolved. Oh yeah, I'm just not going to talk to you. That's going to solve all the. No, it doesn't. You know what giving someone the silent treatment does? It pisses them off and it makes them not want to talk to you. It makes them not want to resolve the conflict because it seems like to them, if you're just ignoring someone, it seems like to them that you don't want to resolve the conflict and you just want to sit there, be pretentious about it and just not talk to anyone. It's it's the worst idea ever. Period. Done. Not talking to someone and giving them the silent treatment about a quarrel you have, stupid. I'm just gonna say it right now. It's stupid. And I hate when people do it and wonder, oh, why are they mad at me? Because you haven't talked to them in 2 weeks because I accidentally called you an idiot. Oh, yeah, that makes total no. Like I said, the best way to do it is get the person you're having an argument with, sit down, talk to them, give themselves a chance to explain their side of the story, and then you explain your side of the story. Um, the key to this is not getting pissed off while they're explaining their side of the story, no matter how stupid it might be to you anyway. Like if what they're saying is completely wrong or you think their logic is just utterly flawed, I mean, you can always just be like, dude, you're an idiot. But um the best thing to do is just give them a chance to explain themselves, because if they explain themselves, maybe you can see from their point of view maybe why they would do something like that, or why they would do what they did, I guess. um it gives you a chance to understand their side of the story more, and especially when you explain your side of the story. um Maybe they can see where you're coming from. They can understand why maybe you're a little mad or upset. um it definitely helps in the long run. I'm telling you, it can save relationships and friendships with people, because now you've given them a chance to explain. You've explained. You can both agree on certain things. And if it's a topic or if it's an issue that you can't agree on, like if you guys are just so deadlocked, like you think their reason is stupid and they think your reason is stupid, honestly, unless it's a matter, like unless it's a super severely, you know, really, unless they did something incredibly stupid, then the best thing at that point, like if you really can't agree, is move on. Like just forget it. Just, let it be. It's something that happened. Um, there's absolutely no reason. I don't see any reason for anyone to get all up in arms and decide, well, I'm going to jump this guy, or I'm just not going to talk to anyone about this problem. It's a bad idea. So, that's my little spiel on conflict resolution. You just gotta just work it out, talk it out. I mean, this especially for couples. I mean, it's just it doesn't make sense to me. I mean, everyone's gonna fight. Yes, everyone's gonna have problems. You're not gonna agree with everyone all the time. That's just a given of being a human being. But especially with, you know, if you're a couple, especially with this person that you guys are supposed to, I'll refrain from using the word love, because some people get pretty upset with that. Oh, you know, I don't love him. I'm only whatever. All right. You're supposed to like that person more than you would like a normal person, I guess, would be the safest way to address this. Um, but this is supposed to be the person that you love. There, I said it. Big deal. Deal with it. This is supposed to be the person that you love, and because you had one minor argument, you're just gonna let this whole thing fall apart. Like, especially if you go out for any extended period of time, and then one day you say something stupid, or your significant other does something stupid, and you just hold that grudge. No, I mean, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does stupid things. No one is infallible. If we were all infallible, then would anyone really be perfect? Because perfect would be the norm, right? Everyone would be perfect. So holding a grudge after any sort of conflict is a bad idea. It just leads to, you know, it might in fact lead to another conflict. Because say, you have a fight with a friend, and then, sorry about that, guys. It's kind of been cold out lately, but say you have a fight with a friend, and then you guys make up, but then you really didn't say all that you need to say, or, your friend didn't really offer a great enough explanation, which I'm going to tell you, it's probably going to happen a lot. A lot of people won't fully explain themselves to you because they don't feel the need to. During conflict resolution, you need to explain yourself fully and diligently. That way, there's no loose ends to tie up. There's no questions left afterwards. It is a situation that's done and over. But especially if you're in a couple and you're holding a grudge, then every time something stupid happens, you're just gonna be like, yeah, well, he did this before, or yeah, she said that before. Oh, here it comes again. Like, it leads to so many avoidable problems that it's not worth it. Is it really worth fighting over something so insignificant? And I mean, the biggest part of conflict resolution is avoiding conflict where possible. If someone does something minor that irritates you, like you're in the hallway and someone trips you, just move on. There's no point. I mean, if someone is low enough to do something as dumb as that, then just move on. They're not worth your time. They're not worth fighting over. Say you and your friend disagree on something minor, like your friend wants to go see this movie, but you don't. I'm not telling you to be a little bitch and just take it, but I'm telling you that there's going to be a lot more things that are worth arguing over than something as small as that. So if you can avoid conflict where possible, but don't avoid conflict at the sake of, I don't know, at the sake of like your moral upstanding, I suppose. Like if you have a serious problem with something, then you can't just, forsake that. Like if your friend does something that's against your morals or your principles or your philosophies, then I mean you have to let them know. You can't just be like, oh yeah, no, my friend just. If you're super religious, we'll say like, oh, my friend just bashed my religion. That's cool. You got to be like, dude, you can't do that. Or if your friend did something stupid, like if your friend went out and did some illicit activity, and you're like, that's not really someone I wanna. It's not really something I wanna be associated with. I mean, you got to just be like, look, dude. We're good friends and all, and I like you and all, and you're a cool dude, but I mean, I can't. It's something that bothers me and it bugs me, and I just want to let you know that because otherwise, you're just harboring this grudge of sorts. Like you're just harboring this feeling, and you never gave your friend a chance to write it or explain themselves. So I mean, it's a difficult thing, especially when it comes to friends. It is extremely hard to tell your friends that you have a problem with them. I mean, because most of the time we like our friends, right? I mean, they're our friends for a reason, but just because your friend is, one of your best friends or you're, a source of happiness in your life, whatever, it doesn't mean that they can just walk all over you. And it's probably best for everyone involved if everyone gets a chance to say what's on their mind. And that's really it. I mean, this commentary is kind of all over the place. Been kind of a crazy week, so mind is all over the place. But you know, I guess that's the way it's gonna be. So I hope you guys had a good week. Have a relaxing weekend, and I will see you guys next time.